Lloyd Jamel, better known as Panther Slim Jamel. But he's known to the boxing world as Jack Jamel. Born January 27, 1913 in Carlton, Georgia. He died September 30, 1996. He was 83 years of age at the time of his death. And he would reside in Youngstown, Ohio. I'm Scrapbook Boxing. I had the pleasure of meeting Jack Jamel. He was a stand-up humanitarian. And he was a tremendous value to his community. I would like to discuss Jack Jamel's career further with you, right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Let's take a look at Jack Jamel. Jack Jamel stood 6'6". He was a heavyweight who had a 79.5-inch reach. He was an orthodox boxer who fought from 1931 to 1946. He had total bouts of 65 fights, 50 wins, 31 knockouts, 12 losses, and he was stopped 5 times. He was managed by Jim Buchanan, Joe Barber, and Ben Kletchner. Now, Jack Jamel was a member of the Town Club Young Town Hall community. He was a very influential motivator and became a member of the Toastmasters organization. He was the creator of the Jack Jamel's athletic community softball team. He was introduced into the Legends of Leather Boxing Hall of Fame in 1988 in Akron, Ohio. What a humanitarian and contribution to his community. Now, Jack Jamel was given the Frank Linton Award for Community and Athletic Services in 1995. He worked at the Republic Steel and served as the shop steward of Local 1331. Now, Jack Jamel was the oldest member of the United Methodist Church, and he was there until the date of his death. He was 83 years of age. He was also the chairman of the West Federal YMCA in Youngstown, Ohio. It was a chapter of the NAACP. Jack Jamel had 7 grandchildren. He was married twice. Now, his final request before passing away in 1996, he wanted to be introduced to the former heavyweight champion, Iron Mike Tyson. See, Jack Jamel was a resident of Windsor Nursing Home. Now, I mentioned earlier that I had the pleasure of meeting Jack Jamel. And I met him more than one occasion. And I learned a great deal from Jack Jamel. See, he was a great orator, very good speaker. He was very intellectual. And he explained a great deal to me about boxing, about life, about the time in which he grew up. Fascinating humanitarian was Jack Jamel. One of his advice to me was to make sure I take care of family first, community second, but God is your number one worshiper. And as you do that, young man, he said to me, everything else will fall in place. Now, in the career of Jack Jamel, in the world of boxing, he had 10 straight victories between 1931 and 1933. He would have 1 draw, 6 straight victories including a first-round knockout over Roscoe Tallis. Now, Roscoe Tallis was a very, very good fighter. In fact, I did a profile on Roscoe Tallis. R-O-S-O-T-O-L-E-S. And I'm going to show you some opponents of Jack Jamel at the end of this video. Jack Jamel would have victories over Battling Bozo. In fact, he fought him Tuesday, November 14th, 1935 in Fairmont Auditorium. Defeated him in 8 rounds. He was in a ring with Eddie Sims. Eddie Sims was a former Joe Louis opponent. Fought him Friday, May 20th, 1939. He actually fought him in 1936. And he fought him in Youngstown, Ohio. Now, he lost his hometown welcome home party, if you will, to a fighter by the name of Leroy Haynes. Leroy Haynes was a very good heavyweight during those days. Leroy Haynes was from South Bend, Indiana. He lost to him September 3rd, 1936. Now, 1936 would be the year that Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber, would be stopped in 12 rounds by the Black Ulan, Max Schmeling. It would also be the year that Jesse Owens would dominate in the Olympic Games in Berlin, Germany. Where Jack Jamel would face Eddie Blunt. He fought on 2 different occasions. He was also in the ring with Charlie Killer Lamar, Tiger Jack Fox. Now, he fought Tiger Jack Fox 3 times and lost to him 3 times. He lost to Buddy Walker. Now, Buddy Walker was a very, very good fighter. His name was Jack Walker. And I'll show you him as well. Now, he was also in the ring with Joe Knight, Buddy Knox, Two-Ton Tony Galento, Al Gaynor, Corn Griffin. Corn Griffin was an opponent who was actually responsible for getting Jim Braddock another shot at the title. You see, Jim Braddock was on the undercard, along with Corn Griffin, Primo Carnera, and Max Baer. You had another fight on that card, Sammy Fuller and young Peter Jackson. But Corn Griffin was a decent fighter. He was a decent heavyweight. One of the biggest names on Jack Jamel's resume was Billy Jones. Billy Jones had total fights of 89, 58 wins, 24 losses, and 30 knockouts. And he was in the ring with Larry One Punch Johnson, Nady Brown, who was another Joe Louis opponent, George Nichols, top 10 rated heavyweight at that time, Maxie Rosenblum, who became a light heavyweight champion, Arturo Godoy from Chile. He was in the ring with Joe Louis 2 different occasions. Jack Jamel was in the ring with Al McCoy, Tiger Harrison, Harry Thomas, another Joe Louis opponent, Black Murderers Row Elmer Ray, and Battling Bozo. In fact, let me show you some opponents of Jack Jamel. Jack Jamel was in the ring with colored heavyweight champion Al Walker. Al Walker was still hanging around at that time. Very good fighter he was. Al Walker. Jack Jamel was in the ring with Battling Bozo. He was a light heavyweight, as you can see, from Alabama. Battling Bozo was also in the ring. With some top 10 heavyweights during his time. I just wanted to show you Battling Bozo. It's from my personal collection. Jack Jamel was in the ring with Buddy Walker. His name is Jack Buddy Walker. Another opponent of Jack Jamel was heavyweights Eddie Blunt. Eddie Blunt was in the ring with Eddie Sims, Joe Louis' opponent, Buddy Bear, Joe Louis' opponent, Leroy Haynes, and Leroy Haynes was an opponent of Jack Jamel. Al Gaynor, another opponent of Jack Jamel. Let's take a look at some of those opponents. Eddie Blunt. Al Gaynor. Another opponent of Jack Jamel. He was some fighter, was Al Gaynor. Very hard puncher. Roscoe Tallis. Used to be in the ring with Joe Louis all the time in sparring sessions. He was an opponent of Jack Jamel. Very good fighter. I did a profile on him. Type in Roscoe Tallis, Scrapbook Boxing. You learn more about him. Good fighter. Canadian heavyweight, Al Gaynor. This is actually Larry Gans, excuse me. Larry Gans was an opponent of Jack Jamel. Just want to make that correction. Last opponent, heavyweights, O.B. Walker. He was also a colored heavyweight champion. Phenomenal fighter was O.B. Walker. Jack Jamel, who's a stand-up humanitarian. Yes, he did get his dream come true to meet Iron Mike Tyson. And he met a lot of fighters. Fighters of his day. Fighters of the past. And fighters of the future. And you know what he did when he met a lot of those fighters? He motivated them. Salute to Jack Jamel. Forgotten fighter that was remembered right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Salute to my subscribers. Salute to Jack Jamel. And you learned about him right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series.